Welcome back to the deep dive. So, today we are doing something completely different. Usually, we're tearing apart some best-selling book on behavioral economics, or we're wading through dense academic papers on neuroplasticity to find those little nuggets of gold for you.
Or the usual textbook stuff.
Exactly. But today we have a stack of primary sources that are, well, they're raw, they are deeply intimate, and quite frankly, they're electric. We are looking at a series of personal audio memos recorded by a woman named Karen.
Just voice memos.
Yeah, just voice memos.
Yeah.
And on the surface, if you just read the summary of these files, this is a story about keeping pets. But once you listen, and I mean really listen to the timbre of her voice and the decisions she makes, you realize this isn't about pets at all.
Oh, not even close. Not even a little bit. If you approach this as a story about, like, dog ownership or even exotic pet ownership, you are going to miss the entire point.
Completely.
We are looking at a really rare psychological and spiritual profile here. I mean, you and I, we have 2 PhDs between us.
Psychology and theology, yeah.
Yeah, right. And usually we are applying that academic lens to history or theory or clinical studies. But today, we get to apply it to a living, breathing human experience. We're analyzing the spiritual architecture of a woman who didn't just live near the wild. She invited the absolute apex of the wild right into her living room.
Yes, she really did. We are talking about wolves here. And I want to be very, very specific because the term wolf dog gets thrown around so much.
It really does. People use it for anything fluffy.
Right, exactly. We are not talking about a husky with a bad attitude. We are talking about high-content, 89% timber wolves and pure Arctic wolves living in a suburban home, alongside babies in diapers.
Which is just, I mean, it's mind-blowing.
It is. And the woman at the center of this, Karen, she isn't some survivalist living off the grid in a cabin in Alaska with a beard and a shotgun.
No, she's a mom.
She's a mom. She's navigating marriage. She's dealing with divorce later on. She's managing sick kids. She's probably in line at the DMV. And yet, simultaneously, she is the alpha female of a literal wolf pack.
It creates this fascinating dissonance, doesn't it?
It really does.
That's what hooked me immediately when we started listening to these memos. You have the domestic sphere, the diapers, the school runs, the grocery shopping, all those mundane trivialities of modern life colliding head-on with the primal sphere.
The dominance, the blood.
Dominance, instinct, the absolute hierarchy of the pack. And Karen is the bridge between those two worlds. She is the living, breathing embodiment of the wild woman archetype.
Yes.
And, I know we throw that term around a lot in pop psychology. Clarissa Pinkola Estes made it famous with her book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. But it is very, very rarely seen in the actual wild. Most people just talk about it in yoga studios. Karen actually lived it.
She lived it. And that is the thesis we really want to explore today. Why is Karen's life this profound poetic statement? And more importantly, why are we, as two women looking at this material, so convinced, honestly, obsessed that she needs to write a memoir?
She has to.
She really does. Because as I went through these memoirs, I just kept thinking, why is this story hidden? We have men writing volumes and volumes about their conquests, their hunting trips, their brief little brushes with danger.
Often with far less substance, let's be honest.
Oh, way less substance. And here is a woman doing the dangerous, riveting, existential work right in the shadows of suburbia.
It is a corrective. That is the word I kept coming back to as I listened to her voice. Her story is a corrective to a world where we have completely sanitized female power.
Yes.
We've made it safe.
We've made it palatable. We've put it in a pantsuit or a corporate boardroom. But Karen's story is not palatable in that sense. It is gritty. It is sometimes terrifying, and it is profoundly beautiful.
So true.
So our mission today is to unpack these memos, walk you through her life with these animals, and hopefully by the end of this hour, convince Karen, and maybe you, the listener, that these stories belong to the world, not just sitting on a hard drive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's cross the threshold. Let's go back to the beginning, the origin story. It's the early years of her marriage. She has a baby, Lisa, who is still in diapers. We're talking about a very young family.
Right. A vulnerable time.
Yeah. And her husband, let's just call him S, comes home and suggests looking into wolf hybrids. Now, let's just pause right there. Most people, especially a young mother with an infant, would say, honey, are you insane? We have a baby. Let's get a golden retriever.
Let's get a lab.
Exactly. Let's get a lab.
Because the maternal instinct usually leans toward safety. It leans toward predictability and containment. But Karen doesn't do that. She says, let's go look.
Yeah.
And they don't just go down the street to a local breeder. They drive 7 hours. 7 hours with a baby in the car all the way to Auburn, California, up in the mountains.
Just a massive journey.
It really is. From a psychological perspective, this is the first call to adventure in the Joseph Campbell sense. It's the separation from the ordinary world. They are leaving the safety of the known and physically driving into the unknown.
And the detail that really stood out to me in her first memo was the arrival. So they pull up to this house in the mountains, and before they even see the animals, she hears them.
The sound.
The sound. She describes this eerie, beautiful sound of the pack howling, and she says it gave her chills. Now, usually in horror movies or survival stories, getting chills means fear. It means run away.
Exactly. But here, the somatic response is the key to understanding her. That physical reaction, the chills, that is the body recognizing a spiritual truth way before the mind even catches up.
Like a resonance.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a tuning fork being struck. If she were a different type of person, a more conventional person, that sound might have elicited pure terror. Like, get back in the car, this is dangerous, I have a baby.
Right.
But for Karen, the howl was an invitation. It was a language she didn't even know she spoke yet, but her biology recognized it immediately. It's that psychological feeling of uncanniness, the unheimlich, but instead of being repulsed by it, she was magnetized.
Magnetized is the perfect word. So they go in and they meet the breeder. And here's where I want to get a little technical for a second, because the decision they make next is completely baffling if you don't understand the stakes.
Oh, it makes no logical sense.
None. They are novices. They have never owned a wolf. They own dogs, sure, but a wolf is not a dog. And they are looking at a litter. The breeder starts talking about percentages.
Right, the genetic content.
Yeah. Now, usually when people get a wolf dog, they get maybe a low-content mix, right? Maybe 20 or 30%, just enough to have the pointy ears and look cool, but internally they act like a husky or a Malamute.
Exactly. A low-content mix, say 30 to 40%, is manageable for a normal person. It's basically a spicy dog. It might dig up your garden, it might be a bit stubborn, but it eats kibble and it sleeps on the rug by the fire.
But the breeder points out the alpha male of the litter. And this animal, who they eventually named Turok, is 89% wolf.
89%.
He is a timber wolf Malamute mix, but genetically, phenotypically, he is almost entirely a wild animal.
Okay, let's just pause on that number. The breeder throws out this figure, 89%. To the average listener, 40% versus 90% just sounds like math. It's just numbers. But what is the actual biological difference there?
It's massive.
It's the difference between a dog that might chew your slipper and an animal that literally cannot metabolize kibble. At 89%, you are dealing with a physiological engine that is entirely different from a domesticated dog.
Their whole body structure.
Yes, their chests are narrower so they can move quickly through thick brush. Their paws are massive for snow displacement. Their digestion requires raw meat. We're talking bones, organs, the whole deal.
Wow.
But the biggest psychological hurdle is the winter wolf syndrome. A high-content wolf goes through hormonal cycles, specifically deep aggression and restlessness in the winter breeding season, that a dog simply does not have. A dog is essentially a permanent puppy.
Right. They're frozen in adolescence.
Exactly. A wolf is a seasonal warrior. Karen wasn't just buying a pet with pointy ears. She was inviting a creature with a completely different seasonal biology and a massive predatory drive right into her home.
So why do you think they did that? I mean, you have two novices, a baby in the car, and they choose the most dominant, highest percentage predator available. Is it just hubris? Is it naivety?
I don't think it's either. I really think it speaks to a deep, perhaps totally unconscious hunger for authenticity.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
think about it. We live in a world of simulacra. Fake wood, fake interactions, curated social media profiles, polite, empty conversation. A 40% wolf is a simulation of the wild. It's wildlife.
Yeah, wolf.
Right. But an 89% alpha is the wild itself. I think Karen, consciously or unconsciously, wasn't actually looking for a pet. She was looking for a mirror.
A mirror.
Yes. She needed a creature that would demand her absolute best self, because you cannot fake it with an alpha. If you are pretending to be confident, they know. If you are anxious, they smell it. Choosing Turok was choosing a life of radical honesty.
That is so profound. And the name she gave him, Turok, she says it just came to her on the drive home. It sounds ancient, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like a stone dropping into a deep well.
It does. Naming is a powerful act. Calling him Turok creates an identity for him that demands respect. It's not Fluffy, it's not Spot, it's Turok.
Right.
And frankly, bringing Turok home was an act of incredible audacity. It set the entire trajectory for the next 15 years of her life. She wasn't just a suburban mom anymore. She was the keeper of the wolf. She became the gatekeeper between the homeowners association and the Holocene era.
But that title, Keeper of the Wolf, that isn't just some cool label you put on your Instagram bio.
Yeah.
It requires real work, dangerous work.
And this leads us to the second segment of her story, which I think is the most psychologically significant part of the entire stack of audio memos.
The dance of dominance.
The dance of dominance.
This is the part that literally gave me goosebumps listening to her talk about it. Because, as she explains so calmly, you do not train a wolf.
You don't take Turok to puppy obedience school at PetSmart and clicker train him to sit for a little piece of hot dog. You coexist in a pack structure. And the rules of that structure are absolute. There is zero democracy in a wolf pack.
She mentions that because Turok was the dominant male, she and her husband had to become the alpha pair. And specifically, she had to protect her daughter, Lisa. She couldn't afford to be a passive observer in her own home. But the real test comes when Turok is about a year old.
The pacing scene.
Yes. He's 90 pounds. He's essentially a teenager, flooded with testosterone, testing boundaries.
It's so cinematic. I want you, the listener, to just picture this. She's sitting out in the backyard. It's quiet. Turok is pacing back and forth, staring at her. Just staring.
Sizing her up, she calls it. Feels so predatory.
He is being predatory. He is asking a question with his body. He's saying, are you stronger than me? Do you deserve to lead me?
Wow.
And her husband, S, gives her this advice from the sidelines. He says, don't let him sense fear. If you show fear, you lose the game.
That's a lot of pressure.
Imagine the psychological burden of that. You are sitting next to a predator who could quite literally take your hand off, and you have to suppress your biological fight-or-flight response entirely. You have to override millions of years of human evolution that is screaming at you to run and replace it with stay.
And then the transgression happens.
Yeah.
It is, well, it's gross, but it's totally crucial to understanding the story. Turok walks up behind her and pees on her back.
It is shocking. It sounds so disrespectful in human terms, right? Like a frat boy prank.
Yeah.
But in wolf language, it is a very clear sentence.
What does he say?
He is saying, I am marking you. You are my property. I am above you in the hierarchy. It is a direct challenge for the throne. He is claiming her as a subordinate member of his pack.
But her reaction, though, this is what we really need to talk about. This is the defining moment.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't scream. She doesn't run away. She doesn't call her husband over to help her. She whips around. She pulls his legs right out from under him, pins him hard to the ground, digs her fingers into his neck. And this is the absolute kicker. She puts her face right up to his muzzle and growls.
She growled. She didn't use English. She didn't say bad dog or no. She bypassed human language entirely and spoke wolf.
It's amazing.
This is a profound moment of female power. Think about how women are normally socialized. We are taught to de-escalate.
Always.
We are taught to be polite, to accommodate, to smile, to talk our way out of conflict. If a man or a male energy encroaches on our space, we are taught to negotiate. Karen realized in a split second that in the wild, negotiation means submission.
Well, wait, I have to stop you for a second. Because she pinned a 90-pound predator and growled at it. That sounds, honestly, it sounds like a death wish. If I tried that, I'm pretty sure I'd lose my face. Why didn't Turok just tear her apart right there in the grass?
That is the rational human response, and that is exactly why a normal person would lose that encounter. See, Turok isn't making a moral decision. He's running a biological calculation.
Yeah.
If she had hesitated even for a microsecond, or if she had screamed in a high-pitched prey voice, his predatory drift would have immediately kicked in. He would have seen her as weak as prey.
So the speed mattered.
The speed and the sound. The growl worked because it was entirely unexpected from a human. It short-circuited his prey drive and triggered his social submission drive instead. It was risky, absolutely. But retreating would have been significantly more dangerous. She met his energy with a higher frequency of the exact same energy.
She had to strip away all the social niceties just to assert her sovereignty.
Precisely. And notice that it wasn't about brute strength. A 90-pound wolf is incredibly strong. She could not outmuscle him in a wrestling match if he actually wanted to kill her. It was about energy.
Energy and intent.
Yes, it was about the lack of hesitation. She had to channel a pure, clean aggression, not anger aggression.
There's a big difference.
Huge difference. Anger is messy, it's emotional. Aggression is a tool. She used it to reestablish order. And he submitted. He peed, which in wolf body language is the ultimate sign of submission.
And from that moment on, she was the alpha. It's such a powerful metaphor for life. I wonder how many listeners are dealing with their own Turoks right now.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe not a literal wolf, but a toxic boss, a bad partner, a situation that is pacing around them, testing their boundaries, and they are trying to be nice about it, when what they really need to do is metaphorically sweep the leg and growl.
It's the core lesson of the wild woman. You cannot be nice to the predator. You must be fierce. And that fierceness is not unfeminine. That is the lie we've all been sold.
Right, that to be feminine is to be soft.
Exactly. But that fierceness is the actual core of the feminine. It is the mother bear. It is the lioness. Karen accessed that ancient software. She booted up an operating system that most of us haven't used in 1,000 years.
It's just incredible. And as they established this dominance, they decided to actually expand. This wasn't just a one-off experiment for them. They wanted a whole pack.
Yeah, they were fully committed.
So they go back to the breeder. But they can't breed Turok with his own family line, obviously. So they get a female Canadian Mackenzie wolf, a red wolf named Kenya.
And here we really see the complexity of her life increasing exponentially. Now she has Turok, Kenya, and soon a whole litter of cubs. She mentions Jake, one of the pups they ended up keeping. She is raising human children and wolf cubs simultaneously in the same house.
It's wild.
But what fascinated me the most in these memos was the bureaucratic layer of it all. She talks a lot about dealing with the fish and game department.
Yes, the bureaucracy of the wild. It's such a funny, jarring contrast. You have these mystical animals, these ancient spirits, the profound call of the wild, and then you have some guy named Steve with a clipboard coming to inspect your fence post depth.
It is the ultimate buzzkill, isn't it?
Completely.
But she details this absurd dance she had to do. She's trying to explain the spiritual hierarchy of the pack to a state official who literally just wants to know if they have their rabies tags.
You don't?
No, because she's like, there is no approved rabies vaccine for timber wolves because nobody tests on them in labs. And the state is just like, well, fill out Form 12B anyway.
Bureaucracy at its finest.
It really shows that you can't just be a mystic in this world. You have to be a bureaucrat to survive modern life. Karen had to navigate the world of men, the laws, the permits, the safety regulations in order to protect her world of spirit, which was the pack. She became this diplomat between civilization and the wild.
And she did it really successfully. She got all the permits. She passed the rigorous inspections. She proved to the state that she could contain the wild safely. Which brings us to perhaps the most beautiful visual in her entire story, the arrival of Kona.
Kona, the Arctic spirit. This is where the story shifts from dominance and bureaucracy to pure aesthetics and soul connection.
Karen really wanted an Arctic wolf, pure white. And when she got Kona, she describes her as Snow White. But the image that really stuck with me, and I know you made a note of this too when we were prepping, was the wall.
The 6-foot brick wall. Karen describes how Kona, this pure white creature, would stand at the bottom of it, squat down, and just spring vertical lift 6 feet straight into the air.
Unbelievable.
She would land on the top of this narrow brick wall, maybe 6 inches wide, with all 4 paws perfectly balanced, and she would just stand there.
Watching the world, Karen says.
It's an image of pure transcendence. The wolf is technically contained by the wall, but she's also completely above it. And the relationship between Karen and Kona was very different than with Turok.
How so?
Well, Turok was about respect and dominance. He was the king. Kona was about intimacy. Karen calls her my girl. She describes sitting with her for hours out there, just sitting in silence.
She says Kona was sketchy with others, though. She didn't like the husband, which, spoiler alert, is a massive foreshadowing we will definitely get to later, but she loved Karen. It was a real soul bond. And then the grief. Kona died young, maybe 3 or 4 years old, very suddenly.
That loss is part of the archetype, too. The wild is inherently ephemeral. You cannot hold on to it forever. The intensity of that beauty, a snow-white wolf balancing on a red brick wall, is matched only by the intensity of the grief when it's suddenly gone.
It's heartbreaking.
It is, but it deepened Karen's emotional reservoir. You know, few humans in the history of the world have ever bonded with an Arctic wolf. To have that, and then Lisa, it fundamentally changes you. It makes you a carrier of a very specific, rare kind of sorrow.
It does. And I think that sorrow, that capacity to feel so deeply, is exactly what prepared her for the next major chapter. This is the Mother of Wolves segment, the Shasta Rescue. This story blew my mind because of the sheer logistics of it.
It's the moment the story shifts from being a hobbyist to being a true savior. The call comes in from her original breeder. There is a grandmother up in Mount Shasta, which is 10 hours away.
A long drive.
Very long. And this grandmother is about to lose her grandson to the foster care system because she has a wolf pack on her property. The state says the wolves go or the kid goes.
Talk about a horrific moral dilemma. And Karen doesn't even hesitate. She packs up 3 children, Lisa, Lori, and now a baby, Brian, into an SUV and drives 10 hours north to save complete strangers. both the human strangers and the wolf strangers.
This is the ultimate expansion of the mother archetype. She isn't just protecting her own biological brood anymore. She is protecting the concept of family itself. She is saving that grandmother's family unit by absorbing the wolves into her own.
But I want to zoom in on the logistics of this because I think it's easy to gloss over how insane this drive actually was. She has 3 young kids in the car. It's a 10-hour drive back.
Yeah.
And she is picking up cute little puppies.
No, these are full-grown adults.
Exactly. Describe the scene when she actually gets the wolves into the vehicle.
Right. Remember, this is an SUV, not a professional transport truck with cages. She describes the smell right away: wet fur, musk, and pure fear. These are adult wolves, totally confused and uprooted from their territory.
In a car with kids.
In a car with kids. She mentions that for the first hour, the tension in that car was so thick you could choke on it. Every single time a child shifted in their seat, the wolves shifted.
That's terrifying.
She had to project this constant telepathic signal of calm from the driver's seat while navigating winding mountain roads. If she had panicked for even a second, or if the kids had screamed, that confined space could have turned into a blender. It really highlights her absolute masterful command over the energetic environment.
And when they finally get back, she has the Turok pack and the new Shasta pack.
Yeah.
They can't mix. They are 2 entirely different families, and they will kill each other. So she has a fence running right between them. She's living with 2 warring nations in her backyard, maintaining the peace every single day.
It really illustrates why this needs to be a memoir. It's not just a collection of animal stories. It's a story about the intersection of social tragedy, the broken foster care system, struggling families, and the profound healing power of animals. She absorbed the chaos of the world into her own home to create order. It's an act of supreme spiritual service.
Absolutely. And if the Shasta rescue was about logistical bravery, the next story, the Pomona Shelter rescue, is about pure spiritual telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the story that made me put down my pen and just listen in total awe.
Me too.
Yeah.
This is the miracle at the kill shelter.
Yeah.
So years have passed in Shasta. The pack has dwindled. The older wolves have passed away from old age. Karen is feeling lonely for the wild.
That's how she phrased it, yeah.
So on a total whim, she goes down to the local pound in Pomona.
And Pomona is a very industrial area. It's
Right.
concrete. It's smog. It is not the mountains. She walks the aisles of this shelter. She sees nothing. She walks out to the parking lot completely empty-handed. And then the call.
She hears a howl.
She hears a howl. And she knows. No, she says in the memo, there's not a dog. It's long. It's lonesome. It hits her right in the spine. But now, I want to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay.
She's in a parking lot in Pomona. It's noisy. There's traffic. Could she have heard a siren? Could it have been the wind? Because the idea that she heard a specific animal inside a concrete bunker seems statistically impossible.
I thought that too. I actually looked up the acoustics of those municipal facilities. They are specifically designed to dampen sound so the neighbors don't complain. But here is the data point that sways me entirely.
What's that?
She walked every single aisle and felt nothing. She didn't stop at the pit bulls or the huskies. She went back in and headed for the one door that was forbidden. Even if she didn't hear a literal acoustic sound wave, her behavior suggests she was tracking something else entirely.
Pick an action.
Call it intuition, call it a subconscious scent, call it a lucky guess if you want. But the result, finding a pure Arctic wolf hidden in a kill room, completely defies statistical probability.
It does. She realizes the sound is coming from the back.
Correct.
In the employee-only section, the kill room, the solitary confinement for animals scheduled for immediate execution, she knows she can't just walk up and ask for a wolf. It's highly illegal to adopt them out to the public in California. They're usually euthanized the second they're identified.
Yeah.
So what does she do? She walks right up to the do not enter door and she howls.
Imagine that scene. Just picture a suburban woman standing in a sterile, fluorescent-lit hallway of a government building, howling.
It's incredible.
It is an act of total rebellion. She is breaking the social contract to make contact with the wild. And the wolf answers her.
And she finds her. She convinces an employee to let her look in the back. And there, in the back of a dark, concrete cage, is a white Arctic wolf. Cheyenne.
The interaction they have through the bars is so profound. Karen describes the stance. The wolf stands up, drops her head low, and looks right through her. It's a predator's gaze. But then she inches forward, inch by agonizing inch.
Testing the waters.
Yes, it's a negotiation of souls. The wolf is asking, are you safe? Can I trust you not to hurt me?
And Karen saves her. She pulls out her fishing game license, her get-out-of-jail-free card, basically, and proves she runs a legal sanctuary. But the emotional climax of this story for me is when she has to leave the shelter to go get the physical license from her house.
Oh, this part broke me.
As she walks away, the wolf howls. She literally screams, "Don't leave me."
The wolf knew. That is the only logical explanation. The wolf knew Karen was her only chance at survival. And Karen came back. She brought Cheyenne home. But this story, it doesn't have a typical Disney fairy tale ending. Or maybe it does, depending on your perspective.
It's a tragedy, really, but a strangely beautiful one. Cheyenne only lived for a month after that. She had been hit by a car previously, and she had a hernia pressing hard on her heart. She died during the corrective surgery. The vet made a mistake, released the pressure too fast, and her heart just stopped.
It's devastating. But Karen's reframing of this event is exactly what makes her a true healer. She says in the recording, she didn't die alone in a concrete cell. She died loved.
Yeah.
For that 1 month, Cheyenne slept right by the bed. She ate steak. She was spoiled rotten. She knew absolute safety. Karen transformed her death. Instead of a terrifying anonymous end in a cold kill shelter, she had what we call a good death.
A good death.
That is the ultimate work of the Great Mother archetype. To midwife us through the major transitions, even the final one.
It brings tears to my eyes. It really does. It shows that the value of a life isn't necessarily measured in length, but in the depth of connection. And Karen gave her that depth.
This connects perfectly to the broader theme of the unseen that runs through her life. Karen saw the wolf when no one else did, literally heard her when she was hidden away to die. And the wolf saw Karen. They truly witnessed each other.
Speaking of being seen and witnessed, we really have to talk about the counterexample here. The person who did not understand the assignment at all, the ex-husband.
The contrast is so stark. We have been talking this whole time about the deep connection between the woman and the wolves. Now we see the complete disconnection between the man and the wolves.
This incident is, well, it feels like karmic justice, honestly. It's post-divorce. The ex-husband, S, takes Turok, who is now an old, distinguished wolf, to a hotel room for the weekend. First of all, who takes a timber wolf to a Marriott?
A man who thinks the wolf is a prop. A man who thinks the wolf is just an accessory to his ego, not a sovereign, dangerous being. A man who wants to show off to other people.
Exactly. And then he gets drunk. He comes back to the hotel room stumbling, acting bizarre, as Karen puts it, and Turok, he's not having it.
This is a critical insight into animal psychology. Wolves crave coherence above all else. They need the pack structure to be stable. A drunk human is deeply incoherent.
Their movements are sloppy.
Their movement is wrong, their smell is wrong, their energy is chaotic. Turok didn't attack S because he was just being mean. He attacked because the order of his world was threatened by this chaotic element. He was trying to violently correct the behavior.
And the aftermath is wild. Karen talks about seeing her ex-husband black and blue, cuts all over his face. She says he looked like 20 guys jumped him in an alley.
It is the wolf as truth teller. Turok revealed the man's internal instability physically. He marked him. Just like he tried to mark Karen with urine years before to test her, he marked the husband with violence because the husband failed. Karen handled the dominance challenge with strength and focus. The husband failed the coherence test entirely. It validates Karen's entire journey. The wolf protected the sanctity of the pack from the chaotic, intoxicated male energy. It's a really powerful gender commentary, actually. The wolf always knew who the real alpha was. It was never the husband. It was always Karen.
Which leads us so beautifully to the final story in her memos, the benediction. The literary stamp of approval.
Yes, the book gift. So Karen has a friend, David, from England. They met years ago through a support group for their kids' illnesses, and David sends her a birthday present. It's a book signed by the famous author of The Horse Whisperer, Nicholas Evans.
And the inscription inside the cover, to Karen, the woman who runs with wolves.
Now, Karen gets a little confused about the title in the memo. She thinks maybe he wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, which is actually Clarissa Pinkola Estes, as we mentioned earlier, but it doesn't matter at all. The point is the identity bestowed upon her.
Exactly. It's life imitating art. Here you have a famous author, prompted by a friend, recognizing this woman out in California. He names her. Just as she named Turok, he names her. The woman who runs with wolves. It is an external validation of her internal reality. She isn't just a suburban mom. She is this mythic figure. Even the literary world sees it from across the ocean.
And that brings us to the big why. Why are we sharing this? Why are we obsessing over these specific audio memos today?
Because, as we said at the beginning of the deep dive, Karen is a corrective. We live in a society that is very noisy, very performative, and very, very disconnected from the wild. We have tamed absolutely everything. We've tamed our pets, we've tamed our bodies, we've tamed our emotions. Karen's life asks a really dangerous question. What happens if you stop taming?
What happens if you invite the 89% alpha into your car? What happens if you howl in the parking lot of a government building?
Precisely. And notice how incredibly humble she is in these recordings. She says things like, "Oh, here's my crazy life," or "I'm just sitting on the porch remembering this." She doesn't seem to realize that she is a hero. She doesn't realize that she has done something that 99.9% of people, men or women, could never do.
She balanced the diapers and the dominance. She navigated the school drop-off and the kill shelter. And she did it all without a reality TV camera crew. She did it without a lucrative book deal. She did it just because it was who she fundamentally was.
But that is exactly why she needs the book deal. Or at least she needs to sit down and write the memoir. Because other women need to see this map. We need to know that it is possible to be a mother and a warrior at the exact same time. We need to know that our intuition, like hearing that faint howl in the parking lot, is real and valid. Her story is a vital document of a life lived without the safety net of normalcy.
So, Karen, if you are listening to this deep dive right now, you have to write it. Not for you, but for us. For the grandmothers in Shasta, for the women sitting in their cars in parking lots, for the girls who want to learn how to growl back when the world tests them.
And for the wolves. They cannot speak for themselves. You are their witness. You are the keeper of their memory. Turok, Kona, Cheyenne, Kenya. They only exist now in your stories and in your voice. Writing them down is the final act of the alpha. It preserves the pack forever.
So, to you, our listener, we want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on this week. We've talked a lot about Turok testing, Karen. We've talked about the hidden howl in the parking lot. We've talked about the quiet transcendence of the Arctic wolf on the wall.
Think about your own life right now. What is the wild part of yourself that you have locked away in a cage? What is the 89% wolf inside of you that you're constantly trying to force into a 40% dog collar just to make other people comfortable?
And what would happen if, just for a moment, you stopped being afraid of it? What would happen if, when life paces around you and growls at you, you didn't shrink away? What if you growled back?
Karen did. And she found a family, a purpose, and a fierce power that most of us only ever dream of.
She ran with the wolves. And in doing so, she showed all of us how to run with ourselves.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Karen, please get to writing. We will absolutely be the first in line to buy the book.
Unquestionably.
Until next time, stay wild.